Hey, welcome to our channel. We start our ride through the most beautiful areas of Wales, heading from the campsite through Llandudno National Park towards our today's first attraction, which is located in the most popular part of Llandudno, Great Orme, a headland whose English name derives from an Old Norse word, the sea serpent. But before we get there, we have about 2-hour drive through one of the most beautiful parts of Llandudno. On that day we had a quite tight schedule, and to make it more interesting, a traffic jam caught us on 1/3 of the way. Well, it was actually a closed road towards the top of Llandudno. It turns out that the driver of the vehicle from the opposite side was not cautious and probably not careful. He did not brake, missed a corner, and hung with half of his car on the slope. Fortunately, no one was hurt, but the road was closed for several hours. We had to convert and add an extra hour to the unplanned journey through a less but also landscaping road. I am leaving you for a moment so that you can enjoy the beautiful Wales through the eyes of motorcyclists.
Just close my eyes and think of you. When I'm sleeping with someone new, I can't help myself, I wonder if you still feel the way I feel when somebody calls you mine. Are you sleeping with someone new, someone new,
We get to Llandudno, a town that is as popular as Torquay, with its azure beaches. Both cities are among the first English seaside resorts, mentioned as far back as the late 18th century. In both cases, these towns also have large caves, and this will be our first attraction of today. But before we get there, we go to the very top of the headland to eat a bite and enjoy a beautiful view from above for a while. The caves are located just below the Great Orme peak. We reach the parking, change quickly and go to the world's largest prehistoric copper mine, where this precious material was mined using tools from stones and bones 4,000 years ago. In 1987, more than 8 miles of prehistoric tunnels were discovered, some of which were open to tourists in 1991. And later the facility was expanded. Entrance fee to the caves are £9 per adult, children are having £6, and there is also a family ticket for £24.50. I have to mention an additional cost which I did not mention is the entrance to the Great Orme area. If you travel by car or motorbike, it costs £2.50 and includes parking at the top. Returning to the caves. Inside there is a 3,500-year-old great cave. You can visit only 200 meters of several different kilometers of different tunnels, but don't think it is not enough. The tunnels are narrow and low and take an hour to do the whole thing, because after leaving the tunnels you can go higher and see how they used to smelt copper and made tools from it. A very interesting mine worth seeing. The exit leads through the building where we can buy souvenirs. We wanted to go down the tram from the top to the botanical gardens, which was inspired by the book Alice in Wonderland, but unfortunately we lost time due to traffic jams, and so we are going for a short time, about 20 minutes ride, to one of the castles that were on my visit list for a long time. Conwy Castle, a well-preserved 13th century fortification, which immediately impresses, especially when driving from Llandudno. You can find the parking next to the castle by driving straight ahead all the time. It's quite large. There is a bay for motorbikes, which is quite small, but there is, and it's free. Right behind the parking there is an entrance to the castle grounds, but before we go there, we entered a private souvenir shop in front of the castle. We had already bought the tickets earlier, for which we paid £11 per person. On site you can buy something to drink and light snacks, and of course there are toilets as well. One could say a lot about the castle itself. It has a very rich past, but UNESCO sums it up, which considers Conwy to be one of the finest examples of military architecture from the end of the 13th century and the beginning of the 14th century in Europe, and it is on the World Heritage List. It was built at express pace in 4 years with a fortune of £50,000. It's hard to compare to today, but would easily exceed £10 million today. The castle is divided into two parts and has 8 defense towers. It is one of the 4 castles that form the Iron Ring of Defense. It was built on the order of the Edward I. This castle played key moments in the history of Wales as well as for England. We spent a little more time on the whole project than we assumed, about 3 hours. The castle is huge and we wanted to see every nook and cranny. In Conwy, in addition to a huge castle, you can find the smallest house in Great Britain, which is wide 1.80 meters. But the navigation took us wrong and we are going to the most beautiful waterfalls, in my opinion, in Great Britain, Aber Falls. Probably most people have heard about this waterfall. It does not stand out with anything special. It is not the highest, it is not the widest, but in my opinion all the surrounding path and the nature as well as the immersion pool make it at the top of the UK waterfalls. Parking is paid, but I don't know how much exactly. Motorbikes have free, of course. Today we are walking along the path leading through the scenic valley from the parking to the waterfall itself, for which we have to spend about 30 minutes walk, and after 15 minutes you can see and hear the waterfall. We only stayed there for about an hour and I plunged under the waterfall. I couldn't stand the excitement and then repented of riding in wet underwear. But hey ho, it was definitely worth it. We will come back to this waterfall and we will choose a circular road with friends who joined us in a few days later. So please don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss it. Returning to the campsite, we have one more short stop on the A5 road. There is a sculpture of Welsh dragon. We pay nothing for it, it is made by local artist Simon O'Rourke. The dragon is almost 8 meters long and the wingspan is almost 4 meters. It is really amazing. For people who want to see the dragon, in the description of the video I will leave the information. But please be cautious, and if you want to stay in this place, keep in mind that there is an expressway and do not obstruct traffic, and remember to be cautious. Quite late we are returning to the campground through the center of Snowdonia, which is breathtaking. A smile from ear to ear and head flies in all directions, trying to scan and keep in mind all the landscapes of this wonderful place. Admire the eyes of motorcyclists And at the end you will find out what it will be in the next episode of Motorcycle Around the Waves.
Only time will tell. You know what they say. Did I ever really care? I don't think I did. When I'm sleeping with someone new, I just close my eyes and think of you. When I'm sleeping with someone new, I can't help myself. I wonder if you still feel the way I feel when somebody calls you mine. Are you sleeping with someone new? Someone new,
We finished today exhausted but very satisfied, and in the next episode we go to another copper mine, this time much younger, from the Victorian area, and to search for a hidden artificial pool called Infinity Pool that cannot be found on any maps. So please don't forget to subscribe, and see you. Bye.